Alright guys, today we're going to show you how to convert General MIDI into backing tracks for bands. And pretty much any song you want, you can find it's already been created in General MIDI. And what General MIDI is basically, it's a standardized specification for electronic music instruments that respond to MIDI messages. Anyhow, basically what it does is people program in General MIDI basically saying the drums are on channel 10 and the bass is on channel 4 and piano's on channel 3 or whatever, and that's General MIDI. So when you call it up in a General MIDI player, it'll play all the tones in the right spots. And some of the software like Ableton, you call up a General MIDI file, it's basically blank. You have a bunch of MIDI files in there and you gotta add keyboards on those MIDI files, and so it doesn't really, you have, if you get certain General MIDI files, you're kind of lost on which track goes to which, and it just takes you a while to build it out. And some of their General MIDI players, let me go over here to my desktop, and you can buy some General MIDI players, like this one here is like $3.99, and this one here is $3.99, and the Boss. But the only thing is you don't really have that much control over the tones. So I get a lot of clients who come to me and say, hey, can you build me tracks? So I have a guy create the General MIDI for me, or I can buy it online, and I come in and I actually use Reason. And Reason is an amazing reader for General MIDI. For one, as soon as you call up let me bring my face up here. So for one, as soon as you call up a General MIDI file into Reason, it automatically puts them in the right tracks and puts an instrument that's pretty close onto that track. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pull up a General MIDI track, and I'll show you how easy these are to find. Some of them you might have to buy. Some of you might find online that just aren't very good, and so you might have to buy one. A good place to buy them at is this blah 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 blah. Let me call up the window right here. Is this Hit Tracks MIDI place. They're about $9 a file, but they are really good MIDI files. I mean, they usually do a pretty good job. These guys right here, and you just type in Hit Tracks MIDI, but just midi.com.au, and I bought a few of them off here. But for today, I'm gonna take this Bruno Mars song, this Just the Way You Are. I'm not going to play too much of it because it'll give me a copyright, but it's basically, anyhow, I'm going to play that, and I'm going to get that General MIDI file. We're going to call it into Reason. So I'm sure everyone's heard it before, So anyhow, if we go over here and just copy that and go over to good old Google, and we're going to put in Bruno Mars, Just the Way You Are, and then we are going to type in MIDI right behind it, see what comes up. Alright, this first one, these guys, these free MIDI, they're usually not that bad. They usually do pretty good MIDI files. So right here, I'm going to click on, I'm going to download the MIDI. There it is. So it's going to download, and I want it to open in that player. That's horrible. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here, show in Finder. I'm going to right click. Now you have to have Reason, and I did this in Reason 9. I think Reason 8 will do the same thing. I haven't tried anything earlier than that. I have Reason 11, which is I have to say really cool, because it's actually, you can call up as VSTs too in Ableton and stuff, and that's what I use it for a lot now. But I'm just going to call it up in Reason. I know Reason 10 does this great, so if you have Reason 10 or Reason 9, you're golden. But anyhow, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to open with Reason. It's going to call it up, and there you go. It automatically changed my BPM to the BPM that's on the General MIDI. It put all of the tracks in here. Bass, it is a synth bass and a finger bass, piano, wind, strings, guitar, drums, piano. Anyhow, so when I first play this, like I said, I'm not going to play it out loud too much because I don't want to get a copyright infringement, but I'm going to bring this down just because I don't want it to be too distorted. But You can hear it already did a pretty good job. It's playing the backup vocals as a MIDI track, so I'm going to mute that. But if I go over here where the drums are at, let me come over a little further. So I mean, it's it's already got the tones in. Let me come over here and just kind of give it to where the bass is playing at. Now it sounds pretty MIDI, but all the instruments are in the right place. So now all I have to do is just go in and just fix it so it sounds like an actual song. Because the performance is good. So first, what I like to do is start off with drums. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to solo the drums, and I'm going to put my loop markers in where I want to hear pretty much most of the instruments, like the bass and that kind of stuff. So if I hit here, okay, there's my drums. And I can tell already I don't like the way those drums sound. So if I go over here, I'm going to go over here and click on the SEQ, I don't know, but not the rack, you want basically the little timeline. And I am going to go over down the timeline, and I'm going to highlight all those drum tracks, and I am going to convert them into, I'm going to join the clip so it makes one big long clip. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the drum track, and I'm going to hit Command D on a Mac, which duplicates that track. So now I have two exact drum tracks. One is just going to be my kick drum, so I'm going to change this to kick drum, and the other thing is going to be the rest of it. It's just not going to have the kick drum in it. So I'm going to go to my kick drum, I'm going to click on racks. I know which one it is. There's the rack. Go back to the SEO, which is right here. Change this to kick drum. So let's put kick drum. Because pretty much, I mean, if you get the drums sounding great, if you're playing with a drummer, it really doesn't matter what you do, just leave it alone. But I'm just doing this because I want the song to sound like a song. So now I'm going to come over here, and with reason, I can just scroll down. Okay, that's a kick. That's another kick tone they're using. These two kick drum tones. So with my kick drum, I want to keep everything except for, I want to keep those two lines and delete everything else. So basically I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to pull this so I can see all the MIDI notes on the drums, and I'm going to click way up here. Let me make sure there's nothing else. So there's something else up there. I'm going to click way up here, pull down, and I am going to highlight everything except for those two kick drum tracks. Get rid of that. I know this is not a kick drum. This is a snare. Alright, so we're going to get rid of that. So now if I solo this, I'm only going to hear a kick drum. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my other drums. I'm going to solo those and unsolo this one. Click back on that. Now I'm going to just delete these two tracks right here, which is my two kick drums. Whoops, there's one. I'm going to keep everything else on there. Now you can go through and separate. We have the snare drum and the hi-hat and all that kind of stuff separated, but I just do it this way. Sometimes I might separate the top and the snare drum out so I can have control of the kick drum, snare drum, and then the whole top. But this is my main concern, is getting that kick drum to sound right for right now. So now pull these back down. I've got my kick drum. I just want my kick drum. I know this song is more of an 808, so even if I wanted to, I can just go over here and click on hip hop. So that's already going to give me a better bass drum tone. If I want to really get involved, I can right click, go browse instruments, click on that one, and then that'll actually let me load drum samples in. But I have to align these back up to the right. Tone, so I'm on this track. So you can see I'm missing my other tones, so if I want to get those back in, I will need to go over and change this to keyboard edit. And then move this bottom line up to 2 measures, so I can go up here and highlight them all and just move notes 1, 2. So now it's in the snare, but I can actually go back over here now, get rid of the editor, and go to my rack and say, okay, I want that to be a kick drum. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find me a kick drum sample. Alright, so that's kick drum. I'm going to go for that tone right there. Alright, sounds alright for right now, just to kind of give you an idea. Let's go see. Actually like that kick drum for the whole thing, I think. So I'm actually going to take this line and just move it up 1 note and just use that for the whole song. Alright. So now we're going to go over here and color the top. And this one I'm just going to use their standard, but instead of using acoustic, I think I'm going to go to pop. And that's good enough. Now we're going to do is maybe just kind of spice up this kick drum. So I'm going to hit rack, I drop down, hit there, and then I'm going to go over here to, you know what, actually let's just go over here and click on these two. I'm going to right click and click route to new output bus. Just give me my drum bus, so if I drum bus, and if I click on rack there, it's going to call up here. I can go over here, and I'm actually going to click on this show programs, and I'm going to master that. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to go over here to factory presets, and I'm going to go to all effects and patches. Let's go here to dynamic drums, and now we can actually get basically a mastering preset. New. I like that. Dial it back a little bit. See what it's doing here. Maybe bring the threshold down a little bit. Alright, so there you go. So way better. I mean, I'm just doing this really quick. Alright, so now we're going to go over to here to bass, and let's get a bass guitar that sounds good. So we're going to call it the bass. Not digging that at all. So, now the bass tone's not bad, you know. Let's bring this drums down a little bit. The bass tone's not bad for this little machine. You know, it's on finger bass, not hideous. So let's just make the tone better. So I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to click on Show Instruments. I'm going to go over here to Effects, and I'm going to grab a bass head. I'm going to drop it right inside there. Then you can kind of play around with the bass heads you want. Okay, so without the bass head, here's with the bass head. It's not bad. It needs to be a little more punchier, so I'm going to go over to Effects. I'm going to bring in a compressor. Bring bring that threshold down. See it kicking him up 4 or so. Let's bring that makeup up a little bit. Bring that. Alright, digging that. Let's go up here and add some EQ to it. So we scroll all the way up to the top of their track up here. They have great EQ already here. All we do is sort of activate it. So we're going to click on that. We're going to click on this, give it a high cut and low cut. We're going to turn the EQ on and give it some bell curves. So now let's bring this bass back here a little bit. And we can see there's no frequencies happening here, so that high end's good. But now we're going to bring this up. There we go. There we go. Now it sounds more like a bass guitar. Now let's bring the drums back in, see what they sound like together. Okay, so now we go over here and I want to work on this kick drum a little more. I just have in-ears in, so it sounds a little bit weird. So let's go back up to EQ again. I'm going to turn everything back on. Definitely better. Now, you know what? If this already has, when I called this template, it already has some plate and a room and echo just already loaded in my template, but you can actually load those up. You know, there's a whole other tutorials I'll show you how to do that. But so I'm just gonna go over here and I'm gonna come down to my kick drum and I'm gonna activate my room reverb. Oops. On my kick drum. Digging that. I go change that room. There we go. Change that to a drum. Way better. Okay, so that kick drum is a little hot. So we're going to go up here to the rag. And I'm going to bring that down a little bit. Probably just by slapping a compressor on there. Actually, I can go up here and top and turn the compressor on up here. There we go, it's better. Now let's add some verb on that too. There we go, bass back in going. Bass isn't great, you know, you can also go through and change the bass guitar too. But I'm going to leave that for right now. We'll turn on the bass synth. I'm not digging the bass synth at all. So we're going to go to the rack, turn this down a little more so you can hear my voice. I'm going to right click on that, click on Browse. I'm going to go just to Factory and just look up for bass. So what I'm doing right here is I like a bass tone I found, but I'm going to have to, it's reading it at a lower pitch, so I'm basically just join the bass MIDI clip together as one, so I can just control all the MIDI notes, and then I just highlighted them all, and now I'm going to go over here to Note, and I just want to I still want to be an F, but I just want to change that to F1. There we go. Do those two together. And Reason actually has a new little, in 11, has this cool little FM bass synth, which is kind of cool. So I think that's what I'm actually just going to use. I'm just going to find something I like in there. There we go. It's not exact, but you can play around it and get the exact tone, or just come up with your own tone. If you're doing a cover show, it doesn't have to be exactly what other people are doing. But anyhow, so now we got our bass going and our drums going. It's definitely sounding less MIDI, so let's hear it. So here's our lead vocal channel. We don't want that. We're going to get rid of that. Our grand piano. Their grand pianos are pretty good anyhow, but you can actually go through and, if I go up to rack, Reason 11 actually has a cool piano rack now they put in here. Yeah, they have a good rack, but the piano that's already playing it actually sounds pretty decent. We might just play around with that a little bit, so let's go. Actually, I like the ground, pretty decent. Might duplicate it. Go to that rack, change that to upright, and add a little bit of reverb to there, to the grand, give it a nice room. There you go. Strings, like the first strings they already put in there, they're nice strings. We're just going to keep those and go to the rack. Nice orchestra strings. The guitar, let's find where their guitar's at. So the guitar is only right here. See what the guitar is doing. So now Reason's guitar is they do have a little cheesy one, but I'll tell you one that does sound alright. You can actually get a really good guitar plug-in, but just filling up your set, you can actually just go here and click on the rack. And the guitar I use is this, I believe it is this clean one. Has a little bit of chorus. Doesn't totally sound like a guitar, but in the whole song, it actually sounds pretty good. So if I'm go back to where we're at, Let me get rid of the solo here. Pull the guitar. So anyhow, that's pretty much the idea. Now that you kind of get the tones you want, just go through until you get the whole tone you want, and then you can either export the whole thing. You just go click here and just click export bounce audio channels, and then put it into Ableton. If you're in Ableton, if you're doing stereo right and left backing tracks, then all you want to do is just basically pan all the music over to the right side, which you could just go over here and the easiest way to do that is just to come over here and take all your music channels right here and then click all the way down here at the very end and just, well, I guess it didn't work. So just anyhow go through and get all your music channels to the right, one at a time, I guess, because it doesn't let you do the whole thing at the same time. And we'll do it this way. Drums, actually, I don't really need to do that. I just leave these because I have them bust. So, and then whichever tracks you want muted, you just mute them. I have the drum bus over to the right, and then everything else we're going to put over to the right. And then move this stuff all up. We want to give ourselves an 8 count in for click. So we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. We're going to highlight everything. And let's see how many counts we have in before it starts. Actually, you have a metronome right here, so you can turn the click on and see. Okay, so this MIDI file already gave us an 8 count in, even though it's not there yet. It did give us a 4 count on the drum, so we're going to take that off right here. We'll just remove that, so that way it doesn't come in on our MIDI track. We'll just go through here and cut that. Boom. Take that off. We're going to go over here to the front. So I'm going to go here and click on Add New, Create Instrument. And we're going to just do a redrum, and it put us right down here. What we're going to do is we're going to call this click, and then we are going to pan that over to the left side because everything else is panned to the right side. We're going to go to the rack on that, and we're going to find alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go call up this bottom, or double click, and it'll give us a MIDI clip. And we can just go, actually, you know what, let's just make that a loop, 4-bar loop. Double click on it. Now we open up the grid, and we can actually change this grid to quarter notes. Alright, and going to open this up. I have 4 quarter notes here. We're going to put basically 1 there. That'll be our 1, and then we have 2, 3, 4. All right, and then now we're just going to change those tones to what we want. So we're going to go back over here, and we are going to loop that area. Just hit the little loop thing here, and Now we got to change out our tone so we can have a click so I can put in cowbell. So you can actually go through and get whatever tone you want. I'm just going to do this one right now because it's there, and I'm going to change this one out too. I'm going to drag this over here so I have the same thing. Click here, and I'm going to then I'm going to change the pitch of my 1. Alright, so now I have a click track. Now I can just go over here and I can just get back to editor and go as long as the song. I'll just click on that, hit Command D, it'll duplicate it. Let's go as long as the song. Duplicate that out. If you just hold down, it'll automatically fill it in for you. Alright, so now my go here to the end. Still needs to go a little further. And alright, so now I have a click track the whole length of the song. The click is on the right side, because that's how we're going to run this one, is right and left basically. So the click is on the click's coming out the left side, all the rest of the music's coming out the right side. Then you just got to go through and figure out what you don't want. So if you're, say, you know, okay, I don't need a bass player because I have a bass player playing, I'll mute that track. Don't need a drummer because I have drums playing, so I'm going to mute that. So now we just have this. There you go, and then just go to File, Export as a stereo, and now you have your stereo backing track set with General MIDI. So anyhow, hope that helps. I know it was kind of a long-winded tutorial, but Reason's a great thing. You can sit there and play all around all day and get the exact tone you want. And also, you don't have to make the exact same backing track that the song actually goes to. You can go through and just really tear it up and do your own thing and make the cover your own. Or you can dial it in and make the tones sound exactly the same. But at least as soon as you call it in, Reason gives you a starting point, which is great because there's not a lot of software that does that. Anyhow, I hope that helps, and we'll talk to you later. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and maybe go over and check out my band's channel too, which is FOJCTV. So youtube.com/FOJCTV. All right, guys, peace out.
Action.